Hi everybody. I hope you and yours are well. This week's parsha is Parshat Shelach. Parshat Shelach talks about the spies that the Jewish people sent into the land of Canaan, the future land of Israel, which the Almighty was not happy about, but if they wanted to, they could. And unfortunately, 10 out of the 12 came back with a negative report about the land, which had catastrophic consequences. The Jewish people were despaired and cried, and the Jewish people ended up not being able to go into the land and ended up having to be in the desert for 40 years to correspond to the 40 days that the spies were in the land and come back with a negative report. But there were two of the 12 spies, Kalev and Yeshua, that were positive about it. And they said, no, we will be able to go in. God will help us. What did they see that the other 10 did not? And the answer is they forgot about the divine equation and what the Almighty can do. Now, we talked in the past about, partially has to do with an attitude. Do you look at the glass, it's half full or half empty? But I'd like to take it a step deeper and talk about sometimes what looks bad is in fact really not bad at all. And an example from this week's parasha is that the spies said that when we came to the land, there were a lot of funerals. So the land consumes its inhabitants. Were they correct? Yes, they were, but they missed the point. They forgot the divine equation. God did that on purpose so that the people should be busy with their funerals and not notice the 12 spies. So sometimes there's something that we see that we think in our view is terrible, but really there's good in it. I give it two examples. There was a young lady with excellent grades who was trying to get into one of the top Jewish colleges, seminaries in Israel, and thought for sure she was a shoo-in for it, and her friends were going there, and she got rejected, and she was devastated. She ended up having to go to a different seminary, which in her mind wasn't the A seminary, but she went, but she was not happy. But what ended up happening? She became close to a very young lady. They became very good friends and would spend time with her and her family and ended up becoming engaged to her new best friend's brother. So what looked like a terrible thing for her that she didn't get into the seminary that she wanted ended up being the catalyst for her finding her soulmate. Rabbi Ephraim Waxman, a very popular and well-known scholar and speaker, says an unbelievable story about his grandfather. His grandfather was escaping from Vienna and ended up in France with his wife and 3 children, and he wanted to get out of France to get to England. And he's walking and he sees a sailor and says, "Do you have a boat?" He says, "Yes, I do." Where are you going? He says, "I'm going to England tomorrow." "Great, can I go?" "Sure, but you need a visa to allow you into England. And you're going to have to go to the consulate, the English consulate in this city in France to get the visa. But have fun getting it because everybody's trying to get out because the looming Nazis were heading that way." And he walks for miles till he comes to the consulate and he sees there's a mob scene. And there's no way he's going to be able to get in, and there are armed guards not letting anybody in. And he turns to God and he says, "God, please help me. I need to get the visa so I can save my wife and children." And lo and behold, a tremendous thunderstorm comes. And people are running to get out of the rain and avoid the thunderstorm. And he squeezes his way into the gate, and he squeezes himself to the door, and everyone had run away, and he got in, and he came to the door of the office of the council, and he pleads his case. He says, "Please, I want to save my wife, my 3 children, help me." And council listens to him and says, "Okay, look, there's a lot of people waiting, but you happen to be here now. I'll let me stamp your passport, and you'll be able to get it." And he was so thankful. "Thank you, God. Thank you, council." And he sticks his hand to his pocket. He goes, "Oh no, I forgot to bring my passport. It's miles back. And he said, Hashem, God, how could this happen to me? And he faints. And the council wakes him up and says, hey, what's going on? What happened? He says, I forgot my passport and now I don't have the papers, so how am I going to get the visa? And the ambassador says, relax. He took his letterhead and he writes on it, any person on this paper has the permission by the authority granted to me by the British government to have a visa to go into England. And he's just beyond words, and he's thankful to the man and thankful to the Almighty, and he starts heading back. And then he realizes, wait a second, it's not just my family I can save. There's tens of others that I can save, because he said, anybody on this paper. And he goes and he finds other Jewish people, and he starts getting their names on. And the next day when the boat's there, he has an entire congregation, if you will, to go onto the boat, and was spared to go to England. At the moment that he realized he didn't have a passport, that was the worst thing he could have imagined. How could that be? Oh no, what am I going to do? But in the end, there was the divine equation, and yes, his own loving kindness to help save other Jews, that ended up making not having the passport the best thing in the world for his family and for the many tens, maybe even more, of people that he saved. So we should live our life always cognizant of the divine equation. God is involved. There's an old Hasidic saying, tracht gut, dat sein gut. Think good, it will be good. That sometimes the power of our positivity, even in the face of what seems to be negative consequences, actually can be really good. And that could change things around, and the divine equation can kick in and make it good. So may it be good that we can see the good, and may, when the bumps in the road happen, we face them and say, it's good. And may the Almighty bless us with goodness all the time. Your questions and comments and thoughts are greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful Shabbos. All the best.